Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
It's Three's Company in the house.
Cheers.
Cheers. I've got water.
We've missed you.
I miss you guys. I'm happy to be back. Thank you guys for having me today.
Oh, we wish you'd stay all the time.
Well,
I'm fine with that. I just will never leave.
You will never leave. You will never leave us. It sounds very obsessive on my part, but I'm obsessed with you, Sean, because you're on the right and you're with Gays for Trump and every other group that kind of closed the gap for us here in North Carolina and worked so hard to get all of our Republicans across the finish line. Welcome back.
And if you don't follow Sean on the right on TikTok, you're really missing out.
Yeah, what are you doing? What is your life about?
If you're not following me, I don't know.
Clearly.
I haven't been posting as much. I hear people are getting banned on TikTok.
Well, we're not going to let that happen.
No, we're not going to let that. We're not going to have it.
Yes, for a stream.
Thank you, Julie. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about tariffs. And it's going to be, Sean, you're explaining it to two blondes, so go slowly.
Yeah, I mean, I think to start, I think everyone understands the fundamentals of tariffs. What I want to touch on is...
Well, let's talk about the bill, because I don't know, did you hear? Yeah, so I just want to let you guys know, our buddy Tom Tillis is out again, everybody. He and Mitch McConnell and Lisa Murkowski, they just put up a bill that basically blunted Trump's authority to impose tariffs without congressional approval. And it's called the Trade Review Act. And it proposes that, I'm going to make sure I get this right, that within 60 days, Trump's tariffs would expire unless Congress approved it. And Congress has to do that 48 hours he has to get 48-hour approval within imposing new tariffs. So look, I get it. It restores theoretically congressional authority by putting Congress in the mix of all this and its checks and balances and stuff like that. But I mean, the bill, and you're going to talk about this, Margo, in a second, it also ties Trump's hands when it comes to the need to respond to trade issues. But I want to show you guys a video because, look, I am so disgusted with Tom Tillis's bravado when he's doing damn near anything. He's like a clown on stage, but listen to how he dresses down Trump's tariff czar.
We like to focus on is this concept of one throat to choke. In other words, when you're finally taking a look at a strategy, someone has to own it. And you can't say that it's the president or the vice president. So my first question to you, and thank them for the novel approach that was successful on the decision. I'm just trying to figure out whose throat I get to choke. If you own this decision, then I'll look to you to figure out if we're going to be successful.
Okay.
If you don't own the decision, I'm just trying to figure out whose throat I get to choke.
Okay.
That is so apropos for Tom Tillis.
Very extra.
Choking throats or never mind.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
There's a rumor that he did that to his first wife.
Ooh.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
I just said it's a rumor. I don't know.
We're just asking questions around here.
That's right.
We're just asking questions.
We're just asking questions.
Listen, don't blame us. We're just asking questions. So let's talk about, when we talk about Trump's tariffs, Sean, you are really drilling down on this. You're really, at the top of your game, because we all think that it's just one like unilateral tax, etc. There are different factors. I'm going to put up my 4th grade slideshow for everyone to orient you. Okay, I ran this by you, so oops, we don't want to be traumatized by that. We want to look at this. So these are like 4 tenets of it. Am I right on this?
Yep, you got it. So a universal baseline tariff across the board, a minimum of 10% on imported goods, regardless of which country they come from. There are targeted tariffs on China, but there are also reciprocal targeted tariffs on many other countries. What's great about the reciprocal tariffs is if another country doesn't like it, they simply reduce their tariff. So I think this plan was actually quite interesting. And when Trump put it into place, something clicked for me that this isn't just about, or the primary goal cannot be to move all of this manufacturing back to the United States, which we all know we want to move manufacturing back to the United States. But if you give countries the ability to simply dissolve the tariff, then your sole objective cannot be to move manufacturing back from all of these countries. So what I want to touch on, though, is a few of the misconceptions about tariffs. So the first thing that I want to talk about is how the tariff is applied. If you buy today a $10 bottle of shampoo at the grocery store or at Target or at Walmart, and it's made in Mexico, and we're going to put a 10% tariff on it, how much do you think that bottle of shampoo is going to cost with the tariff? Most people are going to say $11, 10% of the $10 that you pay.
Okay.
That's not how it works. The manufacturer, let's say it's Procter & Gamble or Olay, manufacturers in Mexico. They ship the goods across the border. They are the importer of record. And then Walmart buys the goods from Procter & Gamble for $3 a bottle. The tax is actually, the tariff is actually 30 cents. It's not $1. It's 30 cents. So you hear a lot of people right now talking about, well, this is going to, if you buy coffee, it's a $10 bag of coffee. It's going to cost you $15.
Democrats say that. We don't listen to Democrats because they're full of shit, usually.
They can't do math. We let Sean do our math.
The one, and this is the reason why I know so much about this, because this was what my career was based in. I dealt with tariffs my entire career. So, and was in the industry when Trump put tariffs on China. And we moved manufacturing back to the US, and we were actually in some cases.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it worked. And we were able to invest in factories here in the United States, broker deals with them, help them grow. And while at the same time, so we were able to secure basically at the end of the day pricing that while it was more expensive to produce in the US, when you factored in the cost of shipping the goods on a boat from China over to here, it was the same price after we had made some significant investments. So the goal is to move manufacturing back. Yep. But at the same time, we also, I don't think, are going to keep these tariffs in place. As you know, many countries have already come to the table wanting to erase their tariffs. So the stock market crash is one that's interesting, if I can delve into that for just a second. Everyone's freaking out and they're like, Trump is crashing the stock market, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I want to play a game for just a second. Let's pretend.
Does it involve math? Because I'm out.
Nope, it's very simple. Let's pretend that Trump did not come out and reveal his tariff plan.
Okay. He's still in the closet with it.
Yep. It's in his back pocket.
Okay.
But he hasn't told anybody about it yet.
Okay.
So the stock market hasn't done anything in this scenario.
Right.
And then suddenly tomorrow, 50 countries decide that they're no longer going to charge American companies tariffs to import their goods into foreign countries. What would happen to the stock market? It would soar. It would soar because now Ford can sell their vehicles in Australia without tariffs and non-tariff barriers stopping them and holding their market share at 7%, while China is growing 30%.
Uncertainty. Uncertainty is what happens. So the market doesn't like uncertainty.
Correct. But if you were to take away that uncertainty, now we know 51 countries have come to the table. So, but if we were to not have threatened tariffs at all, and suddenly all of those tariffs were to disappear, which is the goal is to level the playing field with these other countries and still charge them a 10% tariff, because we're a consumer market. And if you want to play in our market and you want to sell in the largest consumer market in the world, you're going to pay a 10% tariff if you don't manufacture your goods here. But we are going to get to sell our goods in your country at a 0% tariff. So the idea is now you've unlocked American economics to go and spread to all of these other countries. Now we can go sell Fords and GM in Australia, which has been a struggle for American manufacturers. So the goal at the end of the day was to level the playing field and basically open up new business for American companies and American manufacturers, while installing this new 10% tariff across the board. That's basically just a baseline if you want to play in our economy.
Right.
What about countries like Madagascar, who has a 73% tariff on us, and we don't have any on them?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what, in the past, historically, we allowed trade deals like this to happen because that's actually how China built their manufacturing, conglomerate monopoly that they have today. Is we said, well, this is a developing country that they're developing their manufacturing, so we're
right. And then they did the Belt and Road project, and essentially, controlled the flow of capital with all of these smaller countries. And here we are, we think we're dealing with one country, China, but it's really Madagascar and other countries. Anything that the Belt and Road project goes through, not only gets US aid money, not only gets, money to build, not only gets all the NGO money, not only gets all of that, but the tariffs affect it. But what you said, Sean, it is, and I want to push back on you. In fact, I've given Sean and Margot full permission to come at me later in the show. Like, I'm going to I'm going to be crushed by these two, but I'm going to take the devil's advocate role as we go on. But I want to know, with Tillis sticking his nose in this, right, at this time where everyone, in North Carolina, at least the base, is clamoring for somebody to run against him. I mean, look, I think nationally, the base of the Republican Party, 30%, maybe 35 or 40, would be the type where literally Trump could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue, shoot someone, and they're fine. They're totally MAGA. They're all in. But there are some of these Nikki Haley people, and I think there's a larger percentage of them in North Carolina. What's he doing?
No.
What do you think?
I think that Tillis thinks that he's the prince and he's untouchable. That's what he thinks. I think the base, whether it's Republican or Democrat and mostly unaffiliated, they're done with him. He's the yo-yo. He's on one side 1 minute, he's on another side the next minute. But this particular action of siding with Murkowski and all these people,
he does it all the time.
But here's the interesting thing. Today, it is a rumor, even though it was put out there by a outlet. There's a rumor out there that Tillis is going to be primaried and Trump is going to endorse Pat Harrigan, and that Mark Robinson would then want to run for that District 10 spot. I don't think that that's true. What I think that's Tillis's people putting that out there to just keep his name in the mix, because I corroborated it with the Robinson team and they know nothing about it. But it is interesting because Tillis had a fundraiser not too long ago, and he put the headliners of who was going to attend, and there was going to be, all these congressmen. Pat Harrigan was on it. Brad Knott was on it. Well, Pat Harrigan made a statement and said, I didn't say I was going to attend that meeting, that fundraiser. So there's a lot of dynamics going on here right now. Here's the challenge for the GOP and for anybody out there. It's who's going to run against him, because right now, unless Laura Trump jumps out in a Superman cape, we're kind of in a bad spot. It's either him, and against him would maybe be Roy Cooper, which I don't think he's a viable candidate, but he has a lot of money, or Jeff Jackson, or Wiley Nickel, who wanted to start the shadow government. He's going to go over really well with the MAGA base. But I think we're in a really precarious position here in North Carolina because we have this guy who really is the prince of politics when it comes to the GOP. He has got a bunch of cutthroat people on his team, Berger, Tim Moore.
I think it's come after all of us. I think Sean actually he hasn't come after you.
We like to focus on is this.
He hasn't he knows Sean yet. Give him time.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I've been spared thus far, but we'll see.
Stick around. You will get it. And okay, so you think that's interesting. I just despise the guy. I mean, he's always most of his enemies are actually in the Republican Party.
Well, what's really sad about him is it's not just him. He has a whole crew that are just as evil as he is, and they think they look down on everybody that aren't in their team.
That would be little old us, and we're good people.
He's gotten people fired from their jobs because they took an opposing candidate's side. He's maneuvered. I think that maneuver with getting Jason Simmons in office was a lot of him calling, the NC legislature to come down there and vote. That's my opinion.
Well, we're just asking questions. Wouldn't it be interesting if he were behind the swatting? I'm just asking questions, damn it.
It's a lot of questions to ask.
It's a weird question to ask, but a lot of people on our side have been swatted around here. So,
well, I thought it was really interesting today that this thing came out about Mark Robinson, considering, and this is why I kind of think it came from the Tillis camp, because the night before was the first time Mark Robinson has done anything in the political arena, and he went to a district convention or a district meeting for a candidate that's running for a district convention. And it happens to be the same district that is rumored to be the one that Mark Robinson would want to run in a special election. So I just find this is all, and the person who wrote the article is on the Shoemaker side. So to me, I find a lot of strategies in here, very micro strategy. But I'm also a conspiracy theorist on something.
So no to the swatting is what you're saying.
I'm not saying no. We're asking questions.
We're kicking it. We're keeping it real up in here. That's all we can do.
Questions.
We're just asking the questions. So here's what I think about the tariffs. And I mean, I hear what you're saying. We want to bring manufacturing back, but I'm going to kind of push back a little bit. I mean, I think Trump, look, he's been doing this is brand for 40 years with the tariffs. I think he wants to change the global economy and improve America's economy, skewing it towards a high-skilled manufacturing and export sector. I will say, I think we've seen kind of the upper limits for pure manufacturing economy, that'd be Japan, which operates by this model completely. I mean, it's completely that model. I mean, the economy there has stagnated really and just stayed still for the last 30 years. It's a big economy. I think it's like 2 or 3 in the world, depending on who you ask. But now America's an exporter of primarily services, and we do operate on huge trade deficits. There's no doubt about that. But look, many traditional fiscal conservatives are queasy about that. They think the way to remake our, economy here is to do better regulatory, better tax policy, better education. Well, they're all interconnected, right? And some conservatives are saying, and you got to hear me out on this, this is top down. This philosophy is top down. It's overreach into the economy, and it's basically central planning in the markets. So come at me, bros. How is that wrong?
I'll let Sean go first.
Okay. No, go ahead. Because I have something that I'm thinking about.
Okay, so here's my opinion.
Go for it.
Okay, so my opinion on that is I think Trump is a true free capitalist. I truly believe he wants a free market. And the way to have a true free market is to get the government out of it and let the economy run. And what the regulation that you speak of, the things that you're talking about are all stumbling blocks that he's admitted he wants to get out of the way. Okay. So I don't necessarily agree with you. And I think any conservative that takes that tone, not you specifically, is really not a true conservative, because a true conservative wants a free market without regulation economy.
Taylor, thank you. I guess I'm not arguing by myself, huh?
Yeah, I love Taylor.
Taylor, I think you're saying yes and, correct? Yes to the tariffs and, work on the regulatory. I mean, that has to be.
Well, a couple of things have to happen. One, this goes to the conversation today that was happening. Peter Navarro's comment about Tesla.
You went off on
because it's very simple. Listen, we today operate on a global sourcing and global supply chain. It is simply not rational or logical to push for every part of a vehicle to be manufactured in the United States. It is impossible. And that is not Trump's goal. Trump's goal is to bring manufacturing, particularly manufacturing that can simply be picked up and dropped down. For example,
it used to be here. Stuff that used to be here. We still have the plants. We still have the infrastructure. Is that?
Yes, but also the things that we got rid of because they were more expensive to do here, but can be brought back very simply with automation. So, for example, that may be like clothing manufacturing right now. The automation is not advanced enough to bring clothing manufacturing
here. The textiles, Margot, used to be very big in North Carolina.
I'm from here. Yeah, I know.
In furniture, Sean. So those two things, you're talking about stuff that makes our hearts sing here because that used to be manufacturing right here.
So some of the things that you can think about that would be super easy to move back would be, for example, this one, the largest over-the-counter medication manufacturer is right in our backyard in Morrisville, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte. They are actually the only factory in the world that produces certain formats and forms of OTC medications. We can very simply, we already produce OTC medications in that facility. It's just a matter of importing components, expanding the size, which we actually are doing here in North Carolina. We gave them massive tax abatements. And these used to be vendors of mine, so I would go and visit them and yell at them for not producing fast enough. We gave them major tax abatements to expand their factories. We can double down on those things. This is the type of manufacturing that you can bring back. Your what do they call them? Basic metals. So your steel manufacturing, we can bring that. That's not a problem. That's very easy.
About that. Yeah, I mean, he talks about that all the time, but I will say this, and this is what both of you already know, and you're going to argue this, so I'm going to cut you off at the pass. There are 3 pillars of populism. Number 1 is railing against equality, right? Attacking inequality. Number 2 is an attack on the oligarchy or the world order. And then 3 is an attack on basically production. And in this case, it'd be like global capital flows. This plan embodies all of it. So the genius of it, I will give you this, the genius of it is that this summarizes all of it. This is a populist plan. So keeping everyone together in this, he's going to be able to argue all of those things and resonate.
But don't you think more than any of that, we are a consumer-driven economy, the largest economy of consumers in the world. Why would we not build a global economic system to leverage that to our advantage? I see it as that simple. We are consumers. If you want to sell to us, if you're going to build your entire economy on manufacturing goods to sell to consumers, then you need to sell to us. And if you need to sell to us, you're going to pay a 10% tariff to the manufacturers. This is the manufacturers, not the countries. This is the manufacturers. Procter & Gamble, if you want to make your shampoo and sell it to us in the United States, make it in North Carolina or go make it in Mexico and we're going to charge you a tariff. It's, for example, P&G, this is a great example. They make Crest toothpaste here in North Carolina, but they also make it in Mexico. So what's going to happen when we charge a tariff? All they're going to do, they're going to expand their factory here in North Carolina to fulfill the demand that's in the United States. And they're going to keep producing in Mexico to fulfill demand internationally. Well, so there are things that we can move back here or that we can expand that are already here. But we're basically just leveraging the fact that we're consumer-driven economy Let's charge people 10%.
I think there's one piece of it we're not talking about that's really important. And that is the one thing that we have over anybody else, and that's AI. We are ahead of the game in AI. And that's really going to change the game. The problem with AI for us is we have to have an energy plan that really allows us to grow as quickly as AI is going to take over some of these manufacturing jobs you're talking about. So we're in a little bit of a battle here because we're going to have some jobs that are going to require robotics, and we're moving that direction, but we don't have the capacity right now to do it. So I think this is an interim step as we head toward that long-term economy using AI.
Still of an interim step. I mean,
yeah, it is. It's a big risk.
Let's admit that half of what we're talking about is theories and very attractive ones, and based on experience, Sean. I mean, because it really is. I mean, you've got more experience. You have more experience than Tom Tillis. Way more.
But you don't want to be the next show.
These are a lot of these. They apply to certain industries, but we're leveraging the proof of concept to assume that it apply to others. But yes,
but then you have to assume that all countries are going to be headed by rational actors, and there's a whole lot of this is a very just a cursory review of tariffs. Because
I think there's a bigger piece to it, though, Sloan. Let's talk about this, like in the form of what does a layman person see? They see this only as what the news says, right? I think there's a bigger plan. Like he's already said, he's going to cut income tax for anyone that makes $150,000 or less. Cut taxes on Social Security. Cut, no tax on tips. No tax on overtime. Those all play in because when you don't have to pay those things, what are you doing? You're spending your money.
I mean, tax policy. I mean, so you're right, and I believe
one component. That's just one component.
I think that keeps the coalition together, right? I mean, I think that Nikki Haley. This is my opinion. Listen to me. My opinion is it keeps. You're good on tax policy, like we talked about. You're good on regulatory. So if you're doing things for that, you're going to keep the entire base together. But where we see, in my opinion, the biggest fissure right now with the base, right, is this. And so I have, ventilated some of their concerns. You've argued against that. I think that's great. We need to keep the conversation going on this. But in other words, social policy, guess what? For the first time, we've all been together, right? There's been no fissure. The tax policy, like you've said, there's been no fissure, no pushback. I think this is the first time, even foreign policy. I think people, have been like, this is what I voted for. This is great. I think there are some people that are white knuckling this. And so again, we need to put forth their concerns. I think we've done that.
But I think there's two pieces and Sean, this is where you come in. There's two pieces that we haven't talked about. The $1 trillion profit they're going to find, revenue they're going to bring in. Where's that coming from? Because that's been committed to. And the $1 trillion debt that they're going to cut. Where's that coming from?
And those two things, we're going to keep that conversation going on that, right? Unless we can summarize it really quickly. Because
I think the summary is just, it's very simply, first I want to just say, I think that if we were to go back to a tariff-based tax revenue system, pre-income tax, I think that if the numbers worked right, we could get rid of income tax for everyone making under $400,000 a year. Every family making under $400,000, we could completely eliminate income tax based on our imports and what you're importing, not based on what your income is. You're importing based on your imports. So we charge tax based on the imports, and we're a consumer-driven economy. So you could effectively wipe income tax away, theoretically, in this economic theory, for everyone making under $400,000 a year. That plus tariff policy is effective because you're putting more money in the hands of the lower and middle classes.
Right. Which is more of us. Yeah.
You're shifting the money from these upper elite classes that have basically just held wealth forever. You're going to let the lower and middle class drive this consumer economy. Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to keep that conversation going. There's a lot to know. And again, it's theory. We'll see it in practice. So going on in North Carolina today, just going to keep it kind of light. I want to tell you, listen, this is a rep from Mecklenburg County, and I wanted you to weigh in. He's right in your wheelhouse. And I'm going to argue that don't take him lightly, right? And I'll tell you why in a minute. But this guy proffers the typical leftist Democrat argument here in North Carolina, here everywhere. I won't tell women what they can do with their bodies. And so this guy, I'm telling you, he's positioning himself as the future of the Democrat Party. He's had 3 years work as a policy analyst for Roy Cooper. So they're grooming their leaders, guys. We're not. They are. He was at Hometown Strong Rural Project for 3 years, right? So he's been in the Sand Hills area, all that, worked for Cal Cunningham. But when I saw this, it's total bullshit, because you're telling us that women, that we have to be exposed to God knows what in the bathrooms. You are telling us what to do with our bodies. But Sean, I thought what you said was a riot.
I'm waiting for him to get back on. He hasn't there. He's had no activity in like a few hours, so I'm waiting for him to get back on X and see what I had to say to him. But I mean, he represents District 112, which is in Charlotte, where I live.
Right.
And to insinuate that abortion is an issue that only women should talk about, one, I think it's just naive, and
yeah,
we could go into that. But I think that it's interesting coming from a party that can't define what a woman is, or, you know what I mean? So do trans women have a say in abortion, or just cis women?
Well, and that is such a bullshit argument, not yours, his, because there are only 30% of the General Assembly that are women. So you're telling us that you shouldn't have it. You shouldn't say anything, but you're over there making the laws for women, and you can't tell us what a woman is.
There you go. That's a great point.
And I'm going to tell you, I just want to say this out loud. Eric Stevenson, whom I love, was in the first. He said, "I'm going to meet that man somewhere, and we're going to have a discussion." He is game on wanting to meet Jordan.
Well, I called him out. Look, he's right here in Charlotte. I'll gladly sit down to have a debate with him if he wants to. But I think it was just such a naive and dull thing to say. We know that abortion impacts way more than just the woman. We're talking about some of the men who are out marching for pro-life or pro-choice, etc., but that were babies that survived abortion, and now they're grown men. So just because they're grown men, they don't have a say. They don't have a voice in this argument. So I don't know. I just thought it was such
party
a nice
inclusivity.
Well, he worked for Cal Cunningham. He worked for Cal Cunningham. Don't you think?
And how sexist of him.
Racist. It was racist. Well, here's another piece of it.
Racist. I never even realized that. It's also homophobic if you think about it, because no one in that equation is gay.
It's all around. I mean, it's transphobic.
It's systematic, I think. Yeah, it's transphobic.
But wait a minute.
What about the men? What about the trans men that have to have abortions?
That's a damn tragic. That's tragic.
Well, you don't get a say because you don't get to talk about women's bodies.
So you just, I guess that's the case. So we've come full circle with these people, guys. Like, this is so crazy.
What's crazy is they actually were going to have a protest about this today. Did that happen? I don't know if it happened at the Capitol.
It did not happen. But I mean, Sean, we've been, and I know you've watched every show and hung on every word. So this is just going to be a little review. But look, these are the bills that the Democrats are proffering. Repeal. Listen to it. That's the name of the bill. Repeal the Parents' Bill of Rights. So it eliminates legal protections for parents when the government makes their healthcare decision, allows school to withhold information. We've got these pervs that are spending time alone with these kids and grooming them on their sexuality. They did that. And this is the coup de grace. It gives a child of any age to receive sex change operations and treatments behind the parents' backs. And all North Carolina workers are required to complete LGBTQ training because, you know, Sean, your body is different than a non-gay man, I guess. Your blood is a different color. Your healthcare need, everything is different. So they've got to have training on how to treat you differently.
Well, I mean, why aren't they doing this for diabetics? Like, this is crazy.
Well, they are, but it's not working, as evidenced by the explosion in diabetic case. In fact,
no, but I don't have to take a diabetic awareness course. This is crazy.
But that means that they only care about what people do in the sheets. That's raunchy.
I have one question for the two of you. The entire country, 75% of American citizens, voting American citizens, they are firmly, and they have made it clear that they are firmly against this. Why does the Democrat Party continue to push in this direction, even in states that just won, that Trump just won?
Sean, it's all about you. They care about you, baby. They care about you. You are number one with them. They are all up into your business.
Are they just trying to win the gay vote over? Like they've
lost the gay vote. We proved that. They lost the gay vote when Trump won because gays went with Trump more than they did with the Democrats. I think that there's a sliver of this party that is driving them over the cliff. Even Carville says they're nuts. I mean, and now we know that there are people like AOC and that idiot down in Texas. I can't even remember her name. The one that told us that that lady. That they're literally looking at those two women as actual picks to be on a ticket.
Please, God, do it.
Please put them on the ticket.
Moses, if you're listening, Moses, take the wheel, baby. Well, here's what we said, Sean. Here's what we said about these collection of bills last week, and or Tuesday. I think I'm on to appropriate stuff in the library. Can't put things about giving blowjobs or anal, and I'm not being rude. These are in our school. These are the things that are in some of our schools. Okay, so that's what I said last week. And I'm not lying. Like, I would not have to say it if it weren't featured in books, not just books that are just latent somewhere or whatever. Books that they're featuring as displays in the front of libraries in elementary school. I mean, that's happened in, Margo, too many counties, I think, to count at this point.
Yeah. Well, the librarians are just absolutely taken. They're just over the edge. Militant, ridiculous leftists.
Well, and we've all seen the videos of the parents that go to the school board meetings.
Yeah.
And they read books, and the school board stops them because it's inappropriate for them to be reading at a school board meeting, but it's appropriate to have in an elementary school library. This is entirely inappropriate. I have nothing further to say.
Okay, but how do you follow? Yeah, how do you follow all that stuff? But honestly, I don't know, but I want you all to know in this audience that what I just showed you with that representative and what these representatives do, that is the Democrat Party in North Carolina. Make no mistake, they want to gaslight us and say, oh, the Republicans are extreme abortionists, etc. It is what you're proposing to do to children as soon as they get out of the womb that should concern everyone. Sex changes behind parents' backs, unfettered access to that, probably taxpayer money with that, putting perverts in the classroom, enabling grooming to happen. How about hiding medical records from parents?
Oh, Tim Reeder, he likes that one.
He didn't have a child, so I mean,
and he's married to a liberal. I think I've heard. We might have to question that.
We're just asking questions, man.
Well, I think that it is important to note, like, this is where, if you remember the debates that we had prior to the election, not necessarily on this, in this forum, but in general as a conference, this big tent versus small party, we can be grateful for the groups and the organizations like Gays Against Groomers that are showing up at these city council meetings and telling these city council members,
yes,
you can vote for this. This is not homophobic. We as a group do not agree with this. And we need more of that. And so I think in general, though, the vast majority of people agree that this is extremely inappropriate. One, two, it's absolutely disgusting and
it's who they are.
Terrible to be doing this to children. And we also are aware too of studies now that have come out to show that the depression, the anxiety, the suicidal thoughts post-transition. And we know too that these are studies that have been reported on major networks like Fox and MSNBC. So these are not,
Made up.
Whatever conspiracy theory thoughts. These are things that we are now seeing. No one should be touching hormone blockers, anything like that under the age of 18, if at all.
Hey, so Sean, the one component that we haven't talked about is the Maha people. The Maha people joined up with the MAGA people to get Trump over the line. They don't like any of this, and no one is taking them into consideration. As a matter of fact, I would say that they have been the people that have been left behind since Trump got elected more than any, from the perspective of we're just starting to see what Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing, and Jay Bhattacharya. It's just coming around, and they've been waiting for it. But these issues, these are their issues too.
That's a good point. And a lot of those were libertarian or Democrat. So
correct.
Just what you said. I mean, 75% of, I believe that's the total electorate. So I want everybody to, out there in North Carolina politics, don't take the bait. Don't take the bait on abortion. Don't take the bait on DEI, etc. No one wants this. I think this and immigration and public safety, Democrats will shrink like I don't know what if you keep bringing that up. They have no argument for that. They want to go on all these side issues. Don't let them go there. This is a central issue. This is anti-family. This is disgusting. Now, we being Republicans, have had to put bills up to protect children. And I'm going to show you why. Now, Margot, you were nonplussed when I showed you this because you said it's been happening for a while. This is happening in Asheville. Look at the ages for this.
So I was nonplussed because it is Asheville, not because it's happening.
What's happening a lot of places. Now, the parents, as we go through, you'll see why they need to be in prison for life. So these are two events sequentially. They were offered on how to get your stage presence going on, how to be a drag queen and how to get your stage presence. Okay. Look fierce and fabulous with you're going to see Asheville's own drag mother, Seb. I'm going to show you Seb in a second, discussing the history of drag and supporting youth,
exploring
Keep that
drag.
in mind. Explore a drag look, style, and persona. So here's Seb, who's going to explore this with youth. Here he is. Okay. Geez, I mean, what in the actual? Okay, so this is Seb. You're going to drop your children off. Okay, because it says you have to drop them off. But listen, you get a free dinner. Okay. So Democrats want to know what, and by the way, this is a parent opt-in. They want this shit in schools. They put this in schools. This is a fact. These are why we have to have these bills, which seem basic and automatic, because Sev could be teaching in your classroom during the day, and it's perfectly legal to teach about grooming to third graders.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, look, do you guys remember back in the day when teachers used to be held to a certain standard? Like they acted a certain way, both within the school and in their personal life.
That's true.
And I don't know. I think that we should hold the people who are exposed to our children during these fundamental learning portions of their lives to a higher standard. Drag in general is typically, in most cases, inappropriate. I would say in all cases, inappropriate for children.
I mean, my in-laws are in Key West. We go there, we have fun, etc. It's everywhere. I mean, it's pervasive. Birdcage, one of my favorite movies. Mrs. Doubtfire, another. In other words, it's there, etc. Even it's fine. This seems to me,
drop your kids off. That's
targeting.
Dropping kids off.
Targeting.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And this is what it is, but it's sort of the same. Like you drop your kids off at school. You know, the same.
Drop your kids off with a pervert.
Yeah, this is look. We just saw the pictures. This is not, Lady Mag. I'm all for.
This is a Mrs. Doubtfire.
I'm all for, if you want to go and do things, go for it. Because I have a very live and let live mentality when it comes to this. But we at what point do we say, oh, okay, this is pornographic, this is not? Drag in most of these cases, these drag queens, show, etc., they're overly sexualized with sexual undertones. They're designed to be entertainment.
Like burlesque.
I have never seen a drag show where there wasn't bad language. And I'm not pretty because I've been to a few drag shows in Atlanta in my day. But there's always bad language. There's always a joke that, even I don't get, and I have to ask what that meant. So you can imagine how these kids will feel. And I don't really think any child needs to know how to put money in a G-string. Sorry, but I just don't.
It's shocking to me that a parent would leave
the parents show. In this instance, the parents. I was telling Margot yesterday, we really should get like a video and see who's bringing there. I mean, I'm sure it's not a lot, but the fact that there are it's just illustrative of the culture the Democrats are completely celebrating. And to your point, Sean, in the face of 75% of the body politic that not only doesn't want it, they actively voted against it. So
here's the most interesting part to me. In any other time in our lives, DSS would be going to get those parents. But instead, the DSS will come for me or you because we wouldn't allow them to go.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we get busted for the protests we're having out there. You know how many times Brian has gotten busted from Gays Against Groomers, North Carolina, and harassed and harangued and a hard time, and he's gay. So, I mean, think about that. So it's just this era of grooming. All this is to say, this is what they stand for. People out there, do not let the Democrats gaslight and get away with it. But I want to switch gears to this. Speaking of lunacy, I mean, because we are talking about Democrats, these series of protests that happen all weekend. Wait a minute, not this. I can't see this again, dude. This one. Hold on.
It's hard to see. That ain't no RuPaul.
That ain't no RuPaul. Okay. These were all over. We had them in Charlotte, Raleigh, Durham, Asheville. Oh, yeah.
Atlanta.
Well, these were in North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Enough greed. Wasn't enough greed when you want to buy that Tesla.
Right. Our democracy.
Say no.
Nazis. Okay, here we go. So
they're awfully nicely dressed.
It's another Nazi scum. See how many times we see that word being used.
The Canadian flag in North Carolina.
So this is
paid operatives. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. What's yours, Sean? What do you have to say?
Well, I was trying to remember what the stats were, but I'm fairly certain I could be wrong about this. Someone can fact check me, but it was something like 70% of the people that showed up to the AOC Bernie Sanders rally, I believe it was in Texas, Arizona. 70% of them had been to 12 or more or 15 or more rallies. So I'm interested to see, because this is data this is geolocation data. I mean, anybody can buy this, marketing data. I want to know how many of these people that were in these concentrated areas have been to 15 or more Kamala Harris rallies, or, so these people are paid operatives. They are bussed in. This is organized. These are not everyday American people who are, these people are, they're leftist lunatics that are getting paid to go and do this.
I wish they pay our ass to go to a damn protest.
Leftist
I
lunatics.
know.
It's not just the lunatics because they got Granny out there. And here's my theory to add to it, Sean. Because Granny and Grandpa are out there now. But here's my biggest theory. I really truly believe.
Damn it. Look.
I think unions are paying them. I think the unions are paying them.
Good. Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
I think a lot of these people, they don't mind protesting against Elon because maybe they were in a union.
Okay. I mean, this is Charlotte. It ain't all that, right? I mean, you could do better. They have done better. I think the crowds have thinned out on this since the original women's movement.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's just funny to see all the grannies that are hanging out with them.
Well, these bitter old biddies that are on the left, they're mean as shit.
They touch my Tesla and they're going to feel a sig.
You carry a sig too?
I do.
That is a great.
Yep, right in the thing in my truck, right in front of the
carry. I'm impressed.
That's my favorite ride around. I keep a Glock in behind by the bed, so come on over.
I do SIGs and Glocks. That is so cute. Okay, so right quick, ex-government employees. Yeah, you know what, Sharon? That's actually a good point.
I love Sharon. She's such a good fan, and she's a subscriber.
Yay, Sharon. All right. You're on the Margot train. That's good. Okay, so the last thing we have to talk about, and this is a big deal actually in North Carolina. Ready? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, we have we have two things. We need to give you the latest on this saga of the where Jefferson Griffin, Allison Riggs, Supreme Court stands. But here's what's at stake. Okay. Sharon, by the way, love you. Okay. There was a decision that the two Democrats on the Supreme Court voted to that government entities can force vaccinate your children.
They were in the descending perspective.
Yeah. So in other words, this is what's on the line. Now, if you've been under a rock in North Carolina, you may not know that there is a controversy. Still, there is a controversy with illegal votes being counted, right? Can you catch
challenge?
Can you quickly catch us up to speed what's going on? This is Allison Riggs, who's a left-wing lunatic.
From West Virginia.
From West Virginia, not even from around here, who states that she won by 734 votes.
So here's what's last week, the appeals court said, hey, we're gonna throw out 267 of these votes because these people never stepped foot in North Carolina and they can't prove their citizenship. And then the 60,000 plus, we're gonna tell these people they can go into their local county board of elections and cure their ballot, and we'll call this done when we get the votes back. But the North Carolina Supreme Court said, whoa, no, we're going to stay this because the remedies you're choosing to offer are unorthodox. They've never been used before. So we're at a stalemate. But the sad part for me is I spent all weekend calling these people whose ballots had not been cured, saying get there Monday morning to make sure that your voter registration card reflects your driver's license number and the last four of your social, so that one, your ballot gets cured, and two, this never happens to you again.
Yeah.
So that work was for naught. And I just feel like those people did the work that the appeals court told them to do.
I think this is important to note. The reason why the Supreme Court ruled that way is because the Democrat asked them, they put forward a brief that said, please stay this order.
Please stop.
The other side, right. And the other side did not object. They didn't come to a decision. They had to, because I mean, if you're the petitioner and then you don't have the person disagreeing. And so that's strategically whatever it is. And so we had a situation where as of Thursday, the Board of Elections was going to have, or Friday, the Board of Elections was going to have to notify people that there was 65,000 votes that did not count. By the way, they were done illegally. And
they didn't meet the criteria.
They didn't meet the criteria. Right. Okay. So it wasn't. So in other words, we're still after November 3rd in a holding pattern we don't know who is going to have a seat on that court. And by the way, you see that it needs to be a damn Republican. I'm sorry, we're in the Constitution. I can point to two different places in the federal Constitution and the state Constitution where it says parents have control over their own child. It's in the Constitution. So by definition, she's an activist judge. By definition.
So, but wait, help me understand one thing. You said the Democrats requested a stay, and the Democrat
attorneys
requested a stay.
Yep.
And the Republicans didn't show up to the hearing.
No, they let it go through, right? Right, Margot? They
did not submit anything to stop it. They didn't oppose the stay.
Okay.
I think the reason why, just my opinion is, I think they want it to get to federal court. I think they want it to go to the next step because ultimately they really want to see it go to the Supreme Court. That's my opinion.
Well, that makes more sense.
Right. So all that is to say, we're in a holding pattern with that. So
6 months without one judge. And Newbie already took one of those judges out. Like she's kind of doing like janitor work. He can't stand her. Anita Earls.
Anita Earls?
Yeah.
Okay. One last thing we're going to cover. And I think, well, hold on. They changed this program on me, guys. It makes me look unorganized, but I'm anything but unorganized. Okay. We're going to close it out. We've really kind of had sex on the show tonight.
But we're G-rated.
But we're talking about Democrats. That's the problem, is that they are very pervertedly based. Okay. So state bill proffered by, actually, this is a bipartisan bill, Neil Jackson, and then a Democrat from Mecklenburg. I can't remember who it was. I can't believe they don't do this already.
Wholly support this bill. 100% support this bill.
Yeah, I think it's going to go. I think
it needs to go further. Like if you're going to put verification on websites, why aren't you doing it for library books?
Ooh. Me likey.
So this kind of stems, if I'm understanding, so I'm not super well versed on the bill, but Melania Trump just pushed for a similar federal, I forget what it was called. Is it like the take it down or something like that? When people who did not consent to have their images shared, that we give them tools, resources to get them taken down. I wholeheartedly support that. Unequivocally.
So yeah, I mean, you just made a great point, is that, and I was going to say, Democrats are so, they want you to be 21 to vape, right? But 2, to have a sex change behind your parents' back.
4, to watch a drag show by yourself.
4, to watch
and 6, to read a porn book in the library.
Well, it's all about priorities, At least our kids can't read, because if they could.
It's all about indoctrination. And
it's all about control.
Future voters.
It's control.
Well, it says it all, Margot, doesn't it? Because they have a bill literally called, the Democrats have a bill, retracting parental rights bill. You actually put it in writing, dipshits. Like, oh, we get you. Like,
imagine. So this is sometimes what I think about. Imagine in the 1950s or the 1970s, even.
Okay.
A politician coming out and saying, I stand for, and I want you to vote for me because we don't want lower taxes. We want to strip your rights away to say what you want, to have whatever say that you have over your own children. Like, wow. This is today's Democrat Party.
Like an honest politician.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, no. And actually, it says Stockholm syndrome on the part of a large swath of the Democrat Party, because they're like, yes, okay, whatever you say. I mean, they think MAGA is insane for Trump. If you can believe there's 2 spirit and multiple genders and all this bullshit, like, you are brainwashed, honey.
I go back to that whole thing. Like, I want to be a unicorn, but I'm overage. And if I choose to be a unicorn, it's on me. But if I'm going to be a unicorn, I'm not going to ask you guys to call me like uni or, I don't expect you to see me with a horn right here in my head.
Special bathroom.
Well, you guys do know, I've told you before, I came out to both of you as trans financial.
That's right.
I'm very, very, very wealthy. I was just born in a poor person's body. And I think you guys should subsidize my transition.
Ooh, I'm 5'8".
I wish this show could subsidize your transition.
Yeah, I wish there. Yes. How about transition like 10 years after? And
just speaking of being trans financial, tell us what you're wearing and what is going on in your life.
Oh my God.
So in celebration of Tax Day, which is 1 week from today, I am wearing one of my shirts that is part of the new brand that I just launched. It says "Make your own money and stop stealing mine."
I love it.
Because I'm sick of the IRS taking all of my money. So we're
and I've got your website up somewhere, but I cannot find it. So tell us where to find. It
is shop47club.com, and it's all spelled out. It's not 4, not 7. It's FORTYSEVEN club, shop47club.com. And it's live, and I haven't been amplifying it as much as I want to yet. I'm working on getting some new content up, but this is what we're going to be your models, working away on.
I'm in sales. I'm just trying to get you up there on getting you trans financially set.
Oh yeah, help me with my transition.
Community. We're big in the trans community. I don't know if you knew that.
The trans financial community.
We're really big. So, okay, we're derailing, and I love this about us, but we have to go. We love you all. Sean, you've got to be on again. I mean, like,
Pookie, come back.
Anytime you guys want. I'm happy to jump on anytime.
Wow, you threw down the Pookie?
I did.
Damn, it's getting real in here.
I have missed you guys dearly, and I'm excited to get back on a regularly scheduled program.
We need more tariff talks.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay. Anytime. All right. Well, we're signing off. We love you guys, and we will see you next week. Please share with 10 people.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is